Did any of you used to listen to car talk? Okay. Do you miss it? Yes. I was sort of a rabid car talk listener. And more for their laughter than for anything else. It was just fun to hear them banter back and forth and laugh so freely. Anyway, one of their shows opened with a list that Tom brought in, a list of famous last words. Now, they're not so famous as they struck me as funny. And that would be the last thing that somebody said before they checked out. So there were things like, "Don't worry, those are tame buffalo." Or, "Yeah, I picked these mushrooms myself." Or, "I'll hold these 2 wires in place and you go flip the switch." One today might be, "Masks? Why do we need to wear masks?" Yeah. My favorite, though, was one that I had heard a number of times in my own life, and it was simply, "Hey guys, watch this." That one popped into my mind during the Bible study on Tuesday morning. As you heard, and it was a bit difficult to make your way through that text because it's kind of dense, but Jesus is having words with an investigative team from Jerusalem, from headquarters, who have gotten reports that they are not following the rules. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're leading people astray. And the report specifically says they don't wash their hands before they eat, and we all know that that's a good idea. Although, in this case, it's not about germs. It's not about COVID-19. It's about ritual purity. And so as an observant Jew, you wash your hands as a way of purifying yourself before you partake in this meal. And it marks you as a Jewish person, and it reminds you, maybe, of your connection with God. So they are demanding to know, if you don't do that, why do you not do that? And Jesus turns around and says, well, you guys push all these rules that are add-ons. You made them up, or somebody made them up somewhere along the line, and you set aside the law of God. To honor your father and your mother, you invite people to give their property to the church when it's their father and mother that need that property for support, and you're giving it away so you look good. That is not following the commandments. You push the rules and you disobey the commandments and you tell others to do the same. You're a bunch of hypocrites. You are the very people that Isaiah was talking about when he said, this people honors me with their lips, but they shame themselves and me with their lives. Hypocrites. You can imagine how that set with those folks, scribes and Pharisees. And with that, what Jesus does, he gathers this crowd around who have been listening in as he's been humbling this team of higher-ups, authorities. He gathers them around and he says, now listen to me. I want you to understand this. It's not what you put in that matters and defiles you. It's what comes out of you that matters and defiles you. It's not what you put in your mouth, but what comes out of your mouth that demonstrates who you are and whose you are. I want you to be clear about that, okay? And with that, he takes all of those dietary laws and rules and customs, and he throws them out. Now, to us, that's not a big deal. To observant Jews, that's huge. Huge. And it's no wonder that the scribes and Pharisees are torqued at him, because that stuff is their bread and butter. And he's jettisoning it completely. I said on Tuesday, it's no wonder he got killed. Really. He says stuff, he does stuff that just adds fuel to this angry fire against him. He was not very diplomatic. Well, having done that, and having had a little conversation then with the disciples about what this means, because they don't get it, suddenly the scene shifts. And we move from Galilee up in the northeast to over near the Mediterranean Sea to the northwest, about 40 or 50 miles. in a region that is a Gentile region. It's not Jewish. It's where Gentiles mainly live. Now, why the shift? That seems strange, doesn't it? Especially since Jesus said just about 5 chapters before that sending out his disciples, your mission is to the Jewish people, your brothers and sister Jewish people, not to the Gentiles. Don't mess with them. Don't go near them. Now Jesus goes off to this Gentile region. The shift in place is to indicate a shift in focus. And Matthew is explaining how this happens. That we're at a turning point as far as this next story, and the focus now becomes not just Jews, but Gentiles as well. And by the time that Matthew has written this, is writing this, that shift has already happened. And so he's explaining how it happened, why, and how perhaps it began. So Jesus is in this Gentile territory, and lo and behold, he runs into a Gentile woman with issues immediately. Matthew calls her a Canaanite woman. Now, the Canaanites were the original inhabitants of the region who were not pleased when the Hebrews moved in. So there's this deep, deep, deep enmity between these two people. So to use that word, it's an old word that isn't even used anymore in Matthew's time, but it's to dredge up that feeling. This Canaanite woman. So she's a woman, strike 1. She's a Canaanite, strike 2. And strike 3, she's mouthy because she's yelling at Jesus. She's a Gentile woman yelling at this Jewish man. You just don't do that. And what does she say? Lord, have mercy. Son of David, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Kyrie eleison, which is what we're going to sing later on at the end of the service. Kyrie eleison, Lord, have mercy. My daughter is sick. She needs your help. Now, it's interesting, I think, that we have a Gentile woman here using language to speak to and about Jesus, sort of announcing who he is to this Gentile world. Language that is embraced in the early church, but those very Jewish authorities that Jesus was just in conversation with, argumentative conversation with, they won't use that language for him. They won't acknowledge who he is. And Matthew is making that point here. Kyrie eleison, Lord, have mercy. Son of David, have mercy. My daughter is sick. What does Jesus do? What's his response? There isn't one. He says nothing. He does nothing. She's a Gentile woman. She has no business talking to him. It's as if she doesn't even exist. Some of the disciples want Jesus to give the word so that they can get on either side of her and just hook her under the arms and haul her away because she's so loud. And she gets wind of that. She hears them. And so she sneaks in and kneels before. She takes a knee, not just one knee, she takes 2 knees before him at his feet. And quietly she says, Lord, help me. She's desperate. Now, this is the point where in my head I hear Jesus turn to his disciples and say, hey guys, watch this. And then turns to the woman and says, I can't help you. I got nothing for you. I'm a Jew, you're a Gentile. I was sent to gather up the lost children of Israel, and it would be stupid and irresponsible of me to take the children's food and throw it to dogs like you. Who is this saying these things? This can't be our beloved, loving, merciful, gentle, kind, compassionate, gracious Jesus. He wouldn't talk to anybody that way, would he? His mother, if she heard about this, she would not be pleased, would she? I didn't raise you that way. What's going on? And I hear one of the disciples in the background elbowing one of the others and say, he told her, put her in her place, didn't he? And she should then slink off, having been put in her place and told who she is in no uncertain terms. But she doesn't. she responds in a most remarkable way. And she says to him, okay, I get it. I understand. But even the dogs get fed. Even the dogs have to eat. They're God's creatures too. So I'll tell you what. Whatever the children leave on their plates, that's fine with me. Whatever the children throw on the floor they don't want, that's fine with me. I will take the children's leftovers, what they don't want. That's just fine. That's all I need. And Jesus is so stunned and so embarrassed because he thought he had told her off and put her in her place that he curses her out and he calls down a bolt of lightning to blast her to kingdom come. You heard that, right? That was in the story, wasn't it? No, he does not. He is so happily, joyously surprised at her response that he tells her, your trust is astounding. As compared to these guys over here, of little faith, yours is great. This is amazing. And the kingdom has come in this moment, in this place. It is here, it is now. It is real. So whatever you want, you've got. And in that moment, her daughter is healed, because that's what happens when the realm of God is sought and acknowledged and lived into. Wholeness comes, Matthew was telling us. Now, you tell me, did Jesus just get caught with his bigotry showing? Or did he intentionally, to illustrate what he had just been talking about, orchestrate this whole thing so that his disciples would understand it's not what goes in, but what comes out that makes all the difference? Is he teaching or is he learning? I was at a retreat. It was a couple days retreat. And there was a main speaker who had come in for this 2 days. He was a Lutheran pastor. So just between us, my expectations were not real high. And he was premium Lutheran. You know what I mean? They're the ones that have the truth and know they have the truth and know that we don't. Okay, so he was of that kind. And so I saw him in a certain way. Confession. Well, I was almost immediately sort of won over or brought in because he was a wonderful speaker. And very compelling and funny and really a good storyteller. And he told over the 2 days a bunch of different stories, and I remember one. And that was, he was serving as on a staff of a large church in the Missouri, in the St. Louis, Missouri area. And it was Easter Sunday. And so the church is packed out and everybody is dressed up and the energy in the place is just buzzing. And the festivity is sort of dialed up because this congregation is colorful, not only in what they wear, but in their skin color. There are black folks and white folks and Latinos and Asians. It's just a beautiful array of humanity in this church. And it feels like Easter, and everybody is having a good time. And the music is great, and it's a beautiful Sunday service, and everybody is sort of flying, you know. And it comes time for communion, and as in many traditions, as soon as we go to communion, it comes, we bring everything down because we're all taught that you got to be somber and solemn because that's the only way to be respectful at communion. You don't talk, So everybody comes up in groups and kneels at the rail. And someone comes by with the bread and you take a piece of bread, and someone comes by with a chalice and you dip the bread in the chalice. Well, in this congregation, there happened to be a member of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team and his wife. It's a black couple. They're there that morning and they are dressed up. He has this beautiful, obviously expensive suit with this bright tie, just amazing. And she is this gorgeous black woman wearing this stunning white gown with a hat, a white hat with a brim. They just stand out. And they then come up at communion time with everybody else in the group that they're ushered up with, and they kneel at the rail, and the server comes with the bread, and he takes a piece of bread, and she takes a piece of bread. And then the pastor, this guy, comes with the chalice and holds it for the man, and he dips his bread in the cup and eats. And then he holds the chalice for the woman, but her head is bowed. She doesn't see it. So he lowers it so he can get it under the brim of her hat. And as he does, he catches the base of the chalice on the communion rail and loses his grip and dumps the whole thing down the front of her beautiful white dress. OMG, right? Over and over again, people are horrified, they're gasping. This is the end. They wait for lightning to strike because this has got to be the end of the world. It's certainly the end of the world for that guy. Yeah? He's done. He's toast. But no. I mean, there's a flurry of activity, and they clean things up, and she forgives him immediately, as does her husband, because it's an accident, and accidents happen, and, well, maybe I should have taken my hat off, and they're conciliatory. And what better day to spill the life of Christ on somebody than on Easter Sunday when it's supposed to be spilling into all the world anyway? It was, in a way, it was perfect. And so they made it meaningful and good. And so here this guy is, I don't know how much time later, lives to tell the tale. This humiliating moment, right? This horrifying moment, this end-of-the-world moment, he tells it at this retreat. This premium Lutheran pastor tells this story on himself to a bunch of Methodist clergy. And as he does, one of those Methodist clergy has some of his biases not only surfaced, but broken. Because, you see, my biases are not just racial, or economic, or social, they're theological, and they're religious, and I got a lot of them. I got all kinds of them. And they keep popping up, and I keep seeing them, but I don't see them all because I'm blind to a lot of it. So, when Jesus says to his disciples, "Hey guys, watch this," does he intentionally engage this woman in a way to illustrate what he is teaching, that it's the ugliness that comes out from inside of us that makes the world an ugly place? Or does he simply stumble into this encounter and expose accidentally his own shadow side? And as he does, he sees God is in this very place, this God-forsaken place, in this woman whom he has no time for. Here God is. Is he teaching or is he learning? Either way, he does not look good in the encounter. And it doesn't matter. He doesn't care. Because his ego is out of the way. This is about the truth. It's not about him. It's about the truth that is way larger than he is. It's about this life that is way larger than he is. Richard Rohr says, it's not about your life, you are about life. It's not about you, you are about life. This larger thing that we share. Jesus doesn't look good in the moment, it doesn't matter. It is about the truth, and he gets that. And he's awakened to it in this moment, or he shares it with others. See, it seems to me he's doing both teaching and learning, and in the process, he becomes the lesson. Can we do that? Are we large enough to do that? So here ends the lesson. And here begins the lesson. Amen.